Hi there, Year 12. This is another screencast for Unit 1, the written element. This one's going to be looking at setting the standard, giving you some previous examples, helping you to establish what the marks they got and the standard that you're looking for the controlled assessment on Romeo and Juliet and A Doll's House. Okay, so before we go on, just a little bit of a recap on what the exploration notes are and what you're expected to work on. So it is a record of your practical work and how that has informed your understanding of the play. It is these things: 1,500 words long, that's each text. So 1,500 words for Romeo and Juliet and 1,500 words for A Doll's House. It is a reflection of real practical work and your research. It focuses what you have learnt from the workshops and the potential the play has to be performed. Obviously that is not the focus of Unit 1. The focus of Unit 1 was learning about the play and the contexts and the characterization, and Unit 2 focus is on how you use all of that information to produce a performance. So this is the assessment criteria for the written element. It's out of 20. And looking up here at this top band, exploration notes show an outstanding knowledge and understanding of the practitioners. Practical observations are embedded in their notes, and notes are accurate, concise, analytical, and well researched. Let's just unpack that for a moment. The first key bit is actually the second element of that assessment criteria, which practical observations are embedded in your notes. If we're thinking about writing it using P paragraphs, the point is your practical work. So right from the word go, that's the context. And you'll be looking at some examples later on. So right through the notes, it's practical first, and then that gives rise to you to be able to demonstrate your outstanding knowledge and understanding of the texts and the practitioners you've used to study those texts. The final bit of that, the accurate, concise, analytical, and well researched, you've got 1,500 words, so it needs to be concise in order to continue with the level of depth that's required as well. And you've got to be able to show that you really understood and that you've well researched the performances as well. So the next band, the word changes to excellent, and your work is supported by examples. And that's the difference, is that you've got some examples supported by evidence, whereas the top band is straight in there with your practical work. So really get that into your head straight away, is that it's going to be about practical work first of all. Okay, so I want you to read this extract here. And then I want you to look at the assessment criteria on the left-hand side of the screen, and I want you to initially just give it your first thoughts of what you would mark it. Okay, so pause the video here, read it, and give it a mark. Okay, so once you've given that a bit of a grade and thought about why it is going to get that grade, I'm going to show you what it really is. So that's extract scores between 9 and 12. The exploration notes show a good understanding of the practitioners and the text, and there are references to your practical work. The main problem with this is, firstly, there's too much we. You can have a little we in the paragraphs, but after you've had a little we, it's got to be talked about the I, what you did. And the problem with this paragraph, it starts on the I and then goes to the we. So we start with something that's really specific to you and then goes really general to the group. So to improve it, we want to start rewriting all of this so that you would say how you use distance between the characters to convey something about your character specifically, and then talk about how you've used that in the play and in the performance, rather than we tried this at different points in the play. That doesn't really tell the examiner anything. The examiner was going to want to know something really specific. This bit's quite good. This made me realise that Juliet feels very close to the nurse in the earlier parts of the play, but she feels herself She closes herself off from her after the nurse suggests that she should marry Paris and forget Romeo. So that's a little bit better. But again, we could then start talking a little bit more about how you performed that moment, or how you would perform that moment using the knowledge that you've got. What I want you to do, okay, this is the commentary given to us by the examiner themselves. So the examiner says this extract demonstrates that the student has completed some practical work. It is clear that her understanding of the text derives from her practical work. Let's think about how we can improve that. Now, I've given you some suggestions already. I want you to stop the video for a moment, and I want you to think about how you can get this piece of work up into at least the next boundary, possibly even the top boundary. Okay, so what we're going to look at now is another extract. Same again. I want you to read through it and then pause the video, giving an idea of what you think the piece of text would get. Okay, so this piece isn't particularly very good, actually. It scores between 5 and 8. The explanation notes have an adequate understanding of the text and the practitioners. You know, there's a lot of teacher notes and comments are repeated in the coursework, and there's little reference to your practical work. And if we just look at it for a moment, another time we worked on the setting of Romeo and Juliet, because, never start a sentence with because there are lots of different scenes and it takes place in all sorts of places, it would take too long to make the settings look realistic. We thought, still talking about the we, thought it would be best to have something like Shakespeare's stage, where the thrust shape with 2 separate exits facilitated quick changes and kept the dramatic action flowing. We, again, tried this with groups of characters going off on one way and characters from the next scene coming onto the other. Lots of spelling mistakes, not really talking much about practical work in any depth at all. And no real justification about, well, some justification as to why they would use the globe stage, but also that's not really an in-depth response. The examiner's looking for you to really have thought about it much more deeply than that and decided upon a set which is well justified in the way that you perform it. All right. So here's the commentary that was given to us by the examiner for this one. So there was little sense of personal insight or reflection on what the student has done in the lesson, referring to we instead of I. The example they give is clear and appropriate, although not detailed and quite vague. And the practical example shows little or no understanding the student has for the play. There's no real justification linked to the play itself about it. It just says that the setting is too long to make it too realistic. Well, that's just too broad. We need to make it much more specific than that. Okay. Again, I want you to make some notes on how that piece of coursework could be improved very easily, at least up to the next band or maybe the other. All right, pause the video here. Okay, so once you've done that, we're going to look at another one. So same again, I want you to read this extract and then give it a grade. Okay, so this one, immediately as you read it, much better than the last one we read. But is it as good as the first? Let's have a look. It actually scores really highly. The exploration notes and the outstanding knowledge and understanding of the practitioners. Practical observations are embedded in their notes, and the notes are accurate, concise, analytical, and well researched. And actually, it's a really good piece of writing. And it communicates that she really knows what she's talking about. That all her ideas are well justified, that she has knowledge not just about Romeo and Juliet but about other forms of drama, and she mentions melodrama specifically, and it's a really good extract. Here's the commentary for it that is provided by the examiner, and the examiner said that it's well written with good vocabulary, That's not the same piece of text. Okay, well, ignore the extract there. Just read the commentary. Never mind. Yeah, got that wrong. Anyway, moving on. So, a genuine perception of how her practical work has informed her understanding of the play, despite her honesty in saying that the experiment they did not work. And that's fine. It's not about getting things right. It's not about making sure that it's a brilliant performance, this unit. This unit is about experimenting. And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. The most important thing is that in your written work that you've showed, you've understood how to improve it. And the practical work in the notes is completely embedded throughout and reflective, analytical and concise. So obviously this is not the extract. I don't know how that happened, but I want to put this online as quickly as possible. So we'll pretend that didn't happen for now, but we'll just quickly nip back over. There we go. That's the right one. And it's just really well written. So that's the kind of standard that we're looking for in that top band, is something nice and concise, analytical, and well researched as that. Okay, so I want to recap on the key things you've got to include. All right, so remember, it's knowledge and understanding of the text, practical observations all the way through, accuracy. Remember, the examiner in this instance does get a video and a record of work of what you've done in this unit of work. So they will already have an idea of what you've done. So you need to be accurate about it. It needs to have detail and an analytical approach and be well researched, all at the same time as being concise. And point, evidence, explain is still the best way of writing it. We're making sure that your practical observations are right there, straight in, as the point. And remember, these are the areas you've got to cover. Use of language, non-verbal communication, vocal awareness, characterization, social, cultural, historical and political elements, visual, spatial and aural, and director's response, director's interpretation and response practitioner. And depending upon the unit of work that we've done, you can combine those into exercises. It is far better to do one exercise, write about one exercise, and one workshop that covers 4 of those, rather than write about 4 of those separately. You'll find your word count is much better. But it's better to look at the screencast for that particular unit of work that you're working on. All right. And that's just the same as was before. Okay, so there we go. I hope that helps you set the standard for the controlled assessment. Good luck.